All right, good afternoon, grantees and subgrantees. This is the video on how to complete the fiscal year 2021 application for funds. I will only be going over the grantee application. However, the subgrantee application is identical, but it is much shorter. So everything we go over in this video will pertain to the subgrantee applications. I just wanted to direct your attention to the checklist of required attachments. This is going to be your roadmap for what attachments, what other documents need to be submitted with your application. Once again, the subgrantee application also has a checklist of required attachments. It is, however, much shorter. I do want to let you know that the 2021 allocations will not be ready until the week of April 20th. You can either wait until the allocations are ready to complete the funded projects in the budget, or you can use this current year's allocations in the interim. So hopefully you have access to all of the application materials, which are found on the CSP website, and you can follow along with this video. So this is the cover sheet of the application. Basically, we just need your program information name. As you can see here, it allows you to click to enter text. I recommend that you only edit this application in Microsoft Word. Other platforms might skew the formatting. Any checkboxes are simple. All you need to do is double click to check and uncheck. Once again, here's the checklist of required attachments. You can double click to make sure that you have all of your attachments ready. The second page of the application is where the application actually begins. We need some general information, so your contract signatory and your point of contact. Typically, these are going to be different individuals. For public entities, the contract signatory is typically the county treasurer, whereas it might be the board president for our private entities. The point of contact is typically the executive director, maybe it's a program coordinator or a grants coordinator that the tripartite board contracts with. Lastly, we need to know what the date of your public hearing is and where that was held. The second section takes regard to the tripartite board. Basically, we want the information that's reflected in your bylaws. Please keep in mind of the CSP policies surrounding tripartite board membership and composition. Once again, all you need to do is click to enter text. Section B of category 2 regards vacancies. When you're completing this section, think about vacancies that are either current at the time of this application or an anticipated vacancy at the start of a fiscal year. Typically, this occurs when you have term limits and you know that those limits are going to exist during the new fiscal year. We just want to know if you have vacancies, please explain those, as well as you and the tripartite board's plan for filling those vacancies, including any recruitment efforts you have for members of the low-income population to serve. The third page starts the board roster. We only have 9 slots here for board members. If you have more than 9 board members, all you need to do is highlight the bottom row, do a right click, click insert rows below, and then you have more spaces to enter more board members. We're needing here the name of the board member, their address, a good phone number, the sector they're in, the date that they were seated, their term expirations, and then the county that they're representing. I want to direct your attention to the sector column. This is a drop-down menu with 3 different sectors, as well as the date seated. All you need to do is click and choose the date. If you don't have any term limits posted in your bylaws, all you need to do is enter NA in this column. And the county representing, if you are a service area of one county, obviously your county representation will be the same. However, this section is more for those multi-county service areas and their requirement of having low-income member representatives from those counties. Section D of category 2 regards the meetings. We want to know how often you're required to meet, and then we want to know the date of your next board meeting. This date could be at the time that you're completing the application or on the day the application is submitted. Category 3 is the budget. So section A is the budget summary table. For this revenue total, we want to know what your total grantee allocation is going to be. If you are a grantee applying for multiple counties, that entire allocation is going to be a total of all counties. The expenses, the total down here should be exactly what the revenue is. And then these line items here allow us to understand how that allocation is going to be spent. We mostly want to see that your total revenue also matches your total expenses. Section B of the budget section is going to be in attachment in Excel format, and I will let Peyton discuss how to complete that attachment.
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull up the attachment. All right, so this you all, I hope it will be familiar to everyone, as it is identical to your monthly expenditure report. So as we're going through, you're going to enter your tripartite board name here, and then the contact person who is specific to the budget. This might be different than the contact person you listed on your cover application sheet. The cost categories, on this tripartite board page, the budgeted amount is going to be the total amount from all of the board administrative costs, program and subgrantee tabs. You are able to edit and add the cost category sections. So if you needed to add a new section, you can select insert, entire row, and it'll be added there. If you are applying for discretionary costs, you will put the budgeted amount here. And if you contract out any services, whether it's data entry, financial services, that will be in the budgeted amount. And the grand total expenditure down here will be your total allocation. For board administrative costs, you will put that in a separate tab. Again, similar to the tripartite board tab, you'll go ahead and put the budgeted amount under each item. This might be for board travel, office supplies, the salary of the grants coordinator. And then for each subgrantee, they will complete their own tab, and I will list it here. They can also add or edit cost category sections as needed. There are only 5 subgrantee tabs. However, if you would need a new one, you can just right click, move or copy, select which one you want to copy, create a copy, and it'll add another subgrantee tab. To rename a tab, you will right click, press rename, and then select the name. That is that for the budget template. I will go ahead and give it back to Sarah.
All right. All right, so we are back to the application. We are still category 3 budget. We're on section C, discretionary funds. So as you all may be familiar with, the CSP awards discretionary funds to those grantees that need to complete a community needs assessment for the upcoming fiscal year. This year, we're doing something a bit different, where we are also allowing grantees to apply for discretionary funds that might aid in agency capacity building or provide more comprehensive training and technical assistance. So we have broken up the 2 categories in the application. The first is discretionary funds for a community needs assessment. Because of the amount of grantees that we need to help fund community needs assessments for, we have placed a cap on requests at $5,000. So if you are a grantee that needs to complete a community needs assessment this year, you would click yes that you would want to apply for those discretionary funds. And then you would put in your requested amount. Like I said, we are leaving the cap at 5,000. If you do not foresee yourself needing to use the full 5,000, we ask that you don't apply for the full amount. The second discretionary item is for the TNTA and agency capacity building. There's a better explanation of what we mean by agency capacity building activities as well as TNTA in the 2021 application instruction manual. If it's still not made clear in the instruction manual, I would be happy to have a conversation with each of you about what this might look like. However, if you do plan to apply for these discretionary funds, you would click yes, and then we would also need to know in a narrative format what these activities are going to be or how these funds are going to be used. And then down here, we ask that you put in your requested amount. We have not set a limit on the amount requested for TNTA and agency capacity building. This is because this is really the first year we have made this available. And also we need to know how much discretionary funds we have left after awarding community needs assessment funds. So we will be making our decision on discretionary funds for TNTA and agency capacity building based on the narrative that you provide us. So please include as much detail as possible. All right, section D is salaries and wages detail. Grantees, this should include all of your CSBG funded positions with your subgrantees. The subgrantees will have this exact same table in their application, so you're able to just pull that information from each of your subgrantees applications. You'd enter the title of the position, not the individual's name, what their annual salary is, the number of months. We want to know the percent of time that they're spending on CSBG specific work, and then whatever that percentage is going to, you're going to have a specific salary. So if you have an ED that makes $50,000 at 12 months and they spend 100% of their time on CSBG, the CSBG portion of their salary would be $50,000. Section E is funded projects. This table is going to essentially mimic the contract statement of work. So we do want to know the program names or the subgrantees, what their allocation is. We need their DUNS number. And then we need a very brief description of the services that they're providing or the scope of the project. And then we want to know what need or needs are being met by this service as it relates to the community needs assessment. Once again, your subgrantees will have this exact same table in their application. So grantees, you just need to summarize what they have put in their applications. And actually, let me correct myself. The subgrantees do not have this table in their application. The subgrantees have a narrative format, and so you will take that narrative and summarize it here. Category 4 is data reporting. So for section A, we want to know what federal objectives and domains are you and your subgrantees reporting on. So grantee applications, this needs to be an aggregate count of the domains. So if you have 5 subgrantees, there's a very good chance you might have every box checked. Just ensure that all of your subgrantees are reflected in this. B is national goals. These are the 3 national goals of the theory of change. Goal 1, remember, is individual and family level services. Goal 2 is really community level initiatives. The national performance indicators. This is going to be tracked through a mapping worksheet. I'm going to go ahead and share that all with you now. So this might look familiar to most of you as we made the mapping worksheet available last year as It wasn't a requirement. This year is a little bit different. This will be required for each grantee as well as for each sub-grantee. Much like the budget, you can see that there are different sheets for the sub-grantees as well as the grantee. So what you need to be, what the information you need to include is what the service is that you're providing. We want to know the number of unduplicated clients that are just receiving the service. We want to know what MPIs are tied to that service. Is this a family, an agency, or a community level goal? And then we want to know the number of unduplicated clients that are actually going to achieve this outcome, this NPI. So this is what is actually going to be your target. We want to know the indicator. So how did you know that that client was successful? How did you know that they met that outcome? And then here we've included a time frame for NPI achievement. As most of you are aware, some of the NPIs have subcategories with timeframes on them. For example, the number of individuals who have secured safe and secure housing, the number of individuals who have maintained that housing for 30 days, and then the number of individuals who have maintained their safe and secure housing for 180 days. So this is an example where one service can potentially provide 3 different outcomes. And then this time frame column will allow you to track the time frame or the amount of days and months that goes by that you need to be checking on those outcomes. All right, category 5 is planning. Section A is the community action plan. The community action plan should not be a new document or template for you to see. It was released in November of 2019 when the CSP unrolled their guidance manual. So I am not going to share the community action plan template with you all during this video. However, there is a detailed explanation on what we are expecting from you in the instruction manual PDF. Section B is community level initiatives. As you are all probably aware, community level work is becoming more encouraged through the CSBG network at the national and federal level. We have revamped our community initiative status form, otherwise known as the CISF, and I will share that with you. There are some disclaimers at the beginning of the application that the community initiative status form is not actually a required attachment, but we did include it because we want to get the grantees and the sub-grantees to start thinking about what the reporting requirements are for a community level initiative. So this is what the community initiative status form looks like. It's just 2 pages. However, it is meant to be a living document. And as you'll see here, you might be working on the same community level initiative for several years. So within the last few weeks, the Federal Office of Community Services has released some guidance regarding what a community level initiative or a community level transformation might look like. So there are 4 phases that your initiative could take place in. As you can see here, there are descriptions of what your initiative would look like in a given phase. So if you are in the formative phase, meaning you're just getting partners to the table, you're discussing this need and generating some ideas and solutions, then you would probably be in the formative phase, which means you only need to submit questions 1 through 4 to the CSP at the end of the fiscal year. So if you scroll to the 2nd page, it's all color coded. So questions 1 through 4 mean you're in the formative phase. And really this is essentially just the planning phase. And then as your community level initiative begins to mature, you're going to move up a phase. And then as you move up phases, you are required to submit more of the form to the CSP. I will not go into any more detail about the CISF. However, as the fiscal year progresses, we will work one-on-one with those grantees and sub-grantees that wish to complete community level work. All right. Category 6 is regarding risk. So the STAR risk assessment should not be a new document to any of you. We are asking that every grantee completes a STAR risk assessment. This is in an Excel document. I will share it with you all briefly so you know what it looks like. This is the STAR risk assessment. There are 3 separate sheets here. The first sheet is the actual assessment. And the nice thing about this form is that it auto-populates your scores. So all you need to do is enter the numbers that relate to you as the grantee. And then once you've completed the STAR risk assessment, it'll generate a score for you down here. And then if you go to the second page, the agency STAR results, it'll actually provide you with an overall score. You know, I have a 0.16 because I didn't complete the whole entire form, but once it's completed, you'll have that score. We ask that when you've completed the STAR risk assessment, you include the assessment score here, as well as a copy of that Excel risk assessment, and include it in your submission. Category 7 is the training and technical assistance. We have kind of an itemized list of training and technical assistance needs. We ask that you check the boxes that relate to the needed training and technical assistance of you as the grantee, as well as your sub-grantees. If there is a topic that isn't listed in this table here, we ask that you use the last row, which is other, and just provide us, you know, a detailed explanation of what that topic is. We will be sharing this information with CSNO so we can provide more targeted training and technical assistance for this upcoming fiscal year. The last category is sub-grantees. If you do not have any sub-grantees, you will not need to complete this entire section 8. For those of you that do, it mostly relates to monitoring. So we want to know what the tripartite board's policy or procedure or plan is to monitor the sub-grantees. As you all are aware, sub-grantees need to be monitored by the board once every fiscal year. So we just want, you know, a brief explanation of how you plan to monitor, when you plan to monitor. If you have a schedule that's in a separate document, feel free to just add that as an attachment and indicate in the narrative box that your answer isn't an attachment. Section B is the monitoring tools. We just want to know if you will be using the Community Services Program's sub-grantee monitoring tool. I want to remind you all that it is not required, but it is available for use. And then if you don't plan on using the CSP sub-grantee monitoring tool, we want to know what topics are going to be covered in your agency's own monitoring tool. Once again, feel free to just create a list of the topics that are covered, or if you think your answer can better be answered by adding an attachment, you can also add your sub-grantee monitoring tool as an attachment to the submission of the application. If you have any further questions about how to complete the application or any of its attachments, feel free to reach out to Peyton or myself, and we will work with you all on completing your applications. Please be reminded that applications and all of their attachments are due to the CSP no later than close of business, May 11th of 2020. Thank you.